Welcome back, you beautiful people, to the Real Collective podcast. As always, I'm Sean Tassa, your host, joined by friend and illustrious co-host, Kyle W. Miller. Kyle, what does the W stand for?
What? What W? Where'd that come from?
I just threw a W in.
Just threw it in there?
Yeah.
Winner. Winner.
Yes, agree. Absolutely. What is your middle name?
Kenneth.
Kenneth?
Yep.
KK? Good thing your last name is not start with a K.
Dude. Low hanging fruit, but still.
Just saying. Oh, absolutely. Listen, my middle name is Nicholas. So I'm ST or my initials, Sean Tasse, and then Nicholas, St. Nicholas. I'm Santa. According to my kids. Anyways, Kyle, it is freezing outside. I hope you're doing well. If you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube, thank you very much for your patronage. Check us out. You can like, subscribe, share. You can go below and you can, do some stuff. You can download the buyer guide, the seller guide. You can book an appointment with either Kyle or I below in the Calendly links. We wanted to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the market right now. We're turning a corner, although it is a little bit cold outside. It really feels like spring with all the snow melting. There's a few lead indicators that will tell us that it looks like spring is going to line up to be pretty exciting compared to the last couple of years. What are you seeing? What are you seeing come through your desk, Kyle? I know you talked to a lot of different agents.
Yeah, talked to a lot of different agents, and I think the it's really weird because there's like this it's just a massive gap between what we're seeing and what's happening, being like there's not a lot of listings. I think you'll talk about that. But the listings they have, same point, are like a lot of them are going in multiples. And the listings that are out there are not sitting for that long. That you might have to talk about that because that seems to have changed. Like I think we were looking at, if we talk November, December, even January, average days on market was definitely sitting at like 30 something. But but anecdotally, I guess in the last couple of weeks, it doesn't feel like that.
No.
It definitely feels like they're not, it's multiple offers, they're going pricing. And again, comment on this, seems right though. Like we don't see a ton of things going over list price. People, I feel like the agents in general are adopting that fact of like you said in the last podcast, Ottawa, the market will determine your price.
Yeah.
So price it right and it's going to work. You price it wrong, like it's nuts. So the agents seem to be in general saying, convincing sellers this is where it's going to be, and it's proving itself to be correct.
Yeah. So, and I think naturally what will happen from that is if you've got four people who all want a place, they're going to say, hey, well, you know what, I want this place, and yeah, you're priced right, but I'll give you an extra, $5,000. I'll give you an extra $10,000 for it. I think that's the sort of thing that we see. Like, we're not going to look at the $100,000 or $200,000 over list price sort of thing that we saw during COVID. I think there's a few factors that I'm looking at. I was talking with another guy just down the hall from me, and he was saying that he saw the number of active properties was the lowest that we've seen in the last probably like 10 years, which includes that COVID market when the inventory was so low, like drastic low, and the number of sales was through the roof. So if we've got, the lowest number of properties available for sale, when something does come up and it's priced right, buyers are gonna be like, oh, good, perfect, I've been waiting for this. And we've got a lot of different buyer clients lined up who are waiting for that perfect property to come to the market so they can go and get it. And then when they do, they're going to sell their house, right? So, okay, we can get more inventory if we get more inventory, right? And that's the problem. It's a chicken and egg sort of thing. I think what you're going to see moving forward is there's a lot of people who bought at the super high prices during the pandemic, and they're going to look and say, well, I need to get this amount of money for my house. So there's going to almost be two markets that are happening. And a lot of the times you can see properties that are sitting on the market and sitting and not selling. And they're going to be sort of up here and just continue to sit and not sell. And then there's going to be people who bought in 2018 or even like longer ago who are going to price their property properly. Say that 3 times fast. Price their property properly pop your peas. And those houses are going to pop, right? So if you price your property properly, it's going to pop.
There, you just coined that. Just trademark that whole thing. Perfect. Put it on a sign.
I will price your property properly, and it's going to pop. But that's it, and that's where we're seeing these multiple offers, right? So we're launching 3 properties this week. One has already come on the market, and I haven't tracked the number of showings, but I just keep seeing showing requests come through. It's a single family, 2-car garage, 2-story house in Riverside South with 4 bedrooms upstairs, a bedroom in the basement. If you haven't seen the video, you can watch it somewhere below if you're on YouTube, for $850. House shows well. Sure, it could use some cosmetic updates and all that sort of stuff, but like $850 for a single family house, with 4 bedrooms upstairs, that's a good price. Finished basement, 2-car garage, good.
Yeah.
So
and we're seeing the sorry to interrupt you, Stuart, and just with the U.S. inflation data that just came out, and this will be a week late, I guess, but we've seen the fixed rates start to dip down again, and are now back to starting with a 4. And you see, after seeing 5 in front of everything for so long, to have a handle with a 4 starting it, even though it's 499 or 489, just it plays with people's heads.
Yeah,
and it's going to feel and look better. It's that in itself, with some pent up demand as we get into a little bit warmer in March. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how that rolls for people. Yeah, for sure.
I think everything's kind of, and we've been talking about this for months, right? Everything's pointing in a particular direction, and we are leading up to, sort of that perfect storm that we were rolling into pre-COVID, that we started rolling into in 2018 and 2019, where, we didn't have the crazy shoot up in terms of average prices that we had during COVID, but we had a pretty good bump up in terms of average prices and a good run up leading into COVID. Right. And it was all of these same factors, right? There was low supply. There was good demand. There's more people moving here. The rates were attractive, back in 2019. And, those 3 things, low supply, high demand, attractive rates are again right now. Now, the rates are not as attractive as they were back in 2018. The prices are not as low as they were in 2018. But even still, people aren't comparing the rates and prices to 2018. They're comparing them to their recent experience, which is something that's happened in the last 2-3 years. Well, the prices feel a little bit lower, a little bit more manageable right now, and the rates are coming down a little bit, right? So you've got all these different things that are playing in, and it's warm. Like there's almost no snow left. We're going into March here, and it's like everything's melted.
Yeah, the 30-degree swing yesterday was amazing.
Everybody's worried that it's gonna be, so hard to drive. We woke up in the morning this morning, and you look outside, it's like, oh, bone dry. Nothing to worry about.
No, it's just cold. You've driven in it before. If you're Canadian, you've driven in this. Like, if you can't handle this, we should have a different chat. But
yeah, you should move to Costa Rica.
Good place. Been there.
Yeah.
But I think the what was I gonna say? Yeah, just with it's after running this rate cycle that we've been in for the last, 18 months or so. I also do think it's sinking in that, and the math is starting to creep out too, that we're just not gonna be at 2s and 3s. And so if you're looking to get in the market, you just have to compromise the fact that you're going to have a 4 or 5 in your rate, and you're going to deal with that. And it's it. So it's not about the rate so much as it's just, is what you're doing affordable for you? If it's affordable, then it's fine to buy. Yeah. If it's not affordable, it's a different conversation. That's just it. I mean, that should always have been the conversation. But just now more than ever, after going from where we were in 2016, 17, and 18 to through 19, 20, 21, but now 23 and beyond, like we went, like, or reverse, I guess.
Yeah.
So It's just this is your part of the cycle now. So if it works, it works.
I mean, I hope that we don't get that huge rise, like almost the doubling in terms of pricing and then dropping by another quarter. I don't love that. I hope if we can just avoid that moving forward and just have regular growth rates, I'd be perfectly okay with that. Like over the last 50 something years in Ottawa, we've seen the average price essentially go up by 5% a year on average, right? I think if we just had a growth rate that looked like 5% per year, great. That's easy. That's manageable. We know what we're getting into. When it goes crazy high or it drops crazy low, no, thank you. That is just, it's not great. I think I think everybody would prefer sort of that sort of scenario.
Stability.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that does describe what our market does typically.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, we've had the blips, obviously, and we're not immune to everything. But at the end of the day, that describes our market to an exact point. That's what it's always been. It's just the steady, other than that once, it was that steady climb.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, look, and the steady climb is still I mean, you've got some years where there's a bit of a drop. You've got some years that it's 10 or 20%, right? But if we just average it out and stick with that sort of, 5%, 6% per year, like it's just so manageable, like that's all I want. Just regular, manageable. Because when you get into these crazy things where it's a huge run up or a big drop off, there's funky stuff that happens. It starts to get weird, right? One group of people is in a better position than the other, and if that's the case, then that power dynamic isn't great. It's always easiest if both the buyers and the sellers are somewhat in harmony, because a lot of people are both buying and selling, right? So you
yeah.
don't be in a great spot on one and a terrible spot on the other. It's not good for anybody overall.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And it's the, what was I going to say? Yeah, sorry. It's the, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because I've started doing the numbers now for some clients who are in that, quintessential renewal 2025, 2026. And we're starting to look at those numbers. And that's it's going to be an interesting play into this market as continues. Like, we're talking short term. If we look a little bit more long term, I was working on some numbers for a client the other day, and just, there's no scenario, literally no scenario, other than like $100,000+ of prepayment to where their payments are going to be less than what they have today. Because and even to the point where, and this is with the impactful thing, I said, okay, if you guys redid your mortgage today, current amortization, everything, you'd get, a rate that starts in the 5.
yeah,
And your payment's going to jump $600.
right.
And then the only way to fix that is if you re-amortize. So go back to 25 years, go back to 30 years, rates higher, but the payment goes down. So we were sitting in a range of like $600 to $400, depending on what they did. Then I said, just for fun, because I use video when I do this, so I'm doing it kind of live.
Yeah,
If they were on a call, I just record and send it. But I'm like, for fun, let's just drop your rate to 4%. Let's assume things go really well in the next 2 years.
yeah.
Or a year and a bit. What does that do? Still the payment goes up another $200,
Wow.
which, and that's the thing. So there's two pieces I pulled out of that. One, there just really isn't a scenario where you're not going to pay more unless you can significantly drop down your mortgage in a lump sum. And two, double the rate does not mean double the payment. I don't care what anybody tells you. Because I was mad, because I got mad at a realtor on Instagram the other day because she was sitting there. I didn't tell her, but I go after her. But I was like, she's like, you double the rate, double the payment. I'm like, no, you don't. That's not how math works necessarily in this case. So no, that's not it either. So don't get caught into that trap.
If you double the rate, you don't double the payment. That's like saying in a condo, hey, the reserve fund is going up by 5%. Your condo fees don't go up by 5%. The portion of your condo fees that are allocated to the reserve fund go up by 5%, which means that your condo fees might actually in total go up by 1%. Right?
Yeah, it's I get it that that people need to spark something, get the phone ringing, but just telling everybody your rate doubles, your payment will not double. In most cases, in almost all cases, maybe there's one, but at the end, like, because you have 1 year left on your mortgage.
Right. Yeah.
But when you got it spread out over 20 years, that's not going to compute the same way.
No.
The same way. So don't fall for that.
Don't get tricked by realtors who you see on Instagram or Facebook, like us.
Yeah. By the way, follow me on Instagram and Facebook.
Right. All right. That's a good place to take a quick break. We'll take a quick break here from our sponsors. We'll see you when you come back on the flip side. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who you think might be interested. You can go below, download the buyer or seller guides, or you can share this with your friend, or you can book an appointment with Kyle or I in the calendar links. We'll see you on the flip side.
This episode of the Real Collective podcast is brought to you by Real Collective. Real Collective brings together best-in-class real estate agents and collective experts in the field to deliver the best possible service to our clients. We govern ourselves with honesty, open-mindedness, and compassion. With diverse skill sets, our agents are able to better serve a wide array of clients, including first-time buyers, first-time sellers, transferees, estate sales, investors, and rural, vacation, and luxury properties. Authenticity and transparency are pillars of our process, which allows us to put our clients at the center of everything we do. Our years of experience and knowledge allow us to deliver prestigious service and optimal results. If you are interested in buying or selling your home, contact us today at realcollective.ca.
Welcome back, you beautiful people, to the second half of the Real Collective podcast, where we like to get into story time with Kyle. We've got a couple anecdotes and a couple of parables and a couple of things that might make you feel a little bit good about the real estate market in Ottawa. As always, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who you think might like this type of conversation. Kyle, take us to school with story time, pull up a rug, and read us a book.
So we're not trying to jinx this one, and hopefully I can say that this will close, because this is going to be a week later. I think it was a couple weeks ago I was telling you about a deal that I was working on where client we started with me, but then in the past, but then ended up going somewhere else, and that whoever she was talking to, bank broker, whatever, couldn't get it done, and I actually repackaged it, sent it back to the same lender, got it done, got this whole thing done. Well, that's been a roller coaster, and there was a new hiccup that showed up like 3 days before closing, because we finally get the thing is that you can do all the math in the world, but at the end of the day, the lenders have all the exact info, right? So for the most part, we're estimating a bunch of stuff, trying to make sure we've got enough money, and always try to have some type of buffer. Yeah. Well, we were ended up getting kicked in the face with more money than we needed to pay, more than we had, But at the end of the day, it's just we're going to end up fixing this one. We're going to end up getting the money that we need. No one's going to be upset about it, and we get this lady to keep. She's going to be, what is it? She's got 4. Yeah, it's going to be a family of 6 staying in their house, and we brought their mortgage down $800 to do that.
Wow.
So those are some of the good those are some of the good ones, which are nice. And on another note, that's a refi that you're doing? Yeah, a refi. Unfortunately, it's divorce. So we had to get some cash to pay out an ex-spouse. Yeah. And that ex-spouse wasn't being super helpful or nice, in my opinion, but who am I? It is what it is. And but the one thing I kept saying was, like, we had to work so hard for this one, and it was because if you, in this market that we talk about so often, obviously it's our show, it's so hard to get back in when you're out.
Yes.
And even exponentially harder on one income.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people when you live, and this is anecdotal again because I'm not separated, so I don't know everybody's dynamics. What I do know is that my life would be vastly different, or it used to be, but it would be vastly different going from two incomes to one.
Yes.
And when you do that, as independent as you are as a human being, man, woman, doesn't matter. In this market, trying to get back into it, it's not like it was 7 years ago. Like people that got divorced 7 years ago and could go buy another home and it was fine, they can't do that now, most of them.
Well,
So
it's not just the mortgage. It's the when you each live in separate houses, you have all of the utilities. You have, your phone, your cable, your internet, your power, your water, your sewer, your taxes, your hydro, like all of those costs. Even if you want to have people, because if you're a single parent, you need help. You need someone to cut your grass. You need someone to mow your, to mow your lawn and to snow blow your driveway and all that kind of stuff. Like all of that stuff takes time. And if you're a single parent, there's 4 children living in that house, there's no extra time, right? So it's like when you don't have help and you've got to pay for help, all of that just further taxes the individuals, right?
and then it becomes a situation of, because I've even had people call me and they're like, hey, my spouse and I are separating and they're gonna pay me out. I'm gonna rent for a year and then like we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. This one specific lady, again, fortunately, she was like, well, we have this rental, so I think I'm gonna sell that and then I'm gonna go out and then I'll come back to you later. And I'm like, honestly, in my personal opinion, is you should probably move into that thing. Take the money and move into that.
Yeah.
Right. And that was because it's like I said, if you get out, you're a single lady, I've seen your income, you're not coming back in.
Yeah.
No, but I'll wait a little bit. I'm like, you are not coming back into the market. You will rent for the foreseeable future until you can triple your income. Is it that bad? I'm like, yes, it is that bad for you.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a similar thing. We fought so hard for this young lady and her family because that's what we do. But at the same point, I emphasized that fight because I said, you can't rent anything big enough for you at less than you already have it.
That's right.
So we might as well try to keep this place, even if it costs a little more in the money and the fees, and just do it. Right.
Yeah.
Just do it.
I'm always telling clients. I remember I had one client who I helped her buy a new build, like a townhouse, like a 2-bedroom townhouse, the 3-story ones.
Mm-hmm.
On the main floor you've got the driveway, there's no real basement, you've got the garage on the main floor.
Yeah.
And she was like, I was on Kilburney in Barhaven, this is going back at least 5-6 years, and about 2 or 3 years into it, she's like, I just can't do this anymore, it's too expensive. I'm like, please do whatever you need to do to be able to stay there. This was like in 2019, I thought, give or take.
Ooh.
And I was like, just do whatever you can do to figure out a way to make it work so you can stay there. Please don't sell it now. I'm like, look, if you have to sell it, I'll sell it for you, but do everything you can to figure out a way to stay there. And of course, I get paid to help her sell a house, but I'm more concerned about the people. And I'm like, your house is about to go up in value drastically. If you sell it now, you're going to miss out on all of that. And her life has changed as a result of the fact that she was able to figure out a way to stay in that house and keep that house. And now look at her value, right? Back then we were talking a value of like 300,000, right? Pre-pandemic. And now we're talking what, 6? So, I mean, that's a big piggy bank that she's living in. And she was able to figure out a way to stay there and, make it work. So finally she's like, okay, good. I'm glad I did, because now I've unlocked all of this equity that I wouldn't have otherwise had. Right. So
here's a different story, good story, but it's a different one, but I don't want to lose it. It's a PSA for the realtors and the people. But I'll say this. I spoke to this couple. I was put in touch with this couple, older couple, owned their house outright in like January. They had already bought a new place and said it's cool. And they were listing theirs to sell, no problem. Right. And they were going to have it. And they're actually, it works out for them great because they were going to get a good chunk and be able to actually downsize into and like pay it outright and still have a little bit of cash, which is perfect. When your client, as a PSA to the realtors, and then if you are these people, you need to put a pin. You need to have a plan, first of all, about what if this house doesn't sell. Right? You love it. You want the best situation. Great. But you need to put a pin in the calendar that says at 30 days, or even better, 45 days, if we don't have the action we need to put a plan in place to figure out how we're still going to buy that other house while this one's for sale. Right? I talk about this a lot on my social channels because it's the thing that kills people the most. And I got a call. I think it was the 8 days before closing on their new house, which was, hey, we're in a pinch. What can we do? Right. And they ended up pushing closing back on top of that. And it, paid some more deposit and stuff. In the end, we're going to close it. But the point of the story being, you're wanting to have a situation you're wanting to have this situation play out as you've planned. Cost these poor folks 17 grand probably because of the fees on this deal we had to put together.
Yeah, and I'd say that's the one side of it you saw. There might have also been cost to them on delaying the purchase of their next home.
So far it's just more deposit, but yes, it could be and then on top of that, right? And I'll say this for everybody. I'd say within if you can avoid it, I'd say 2 weeks either side of your closing, do not go on vacation. don't it's Kyle, it's going to close. Everything's fine. I don't care. 2 weeks either side of your closing. Do not go on vacation.
Here's a question. Why not on the backside? I don't mind the backside.
So here's what happened.
If closing is delayed, then right, got it. Okay, I'm there.
Right. That's because what ended up happening was this lady, right? We were supposed to close on the 28th. And then I said, you got to close later because this is where we are. Or start that process. I can get it closed, but it would be way better for everybody if you can ask for some love and get an extension. Right. So they did. But what she didn't tell me is that she was going on vacation. And she will be gone during the closing. Now she is. She wasn't before, but now she is, right? Literally a week after her closing date, she said, I'm going on vacation. So we had to hustle even harder to jam everything down the lawyer's throat so the lawyer could sign with him, because the lawyer said, as a note, because someone out there is going to say, sign virtually, it's after the pandy. What do you, right? But the lawyer didn't want to. The lawyer's like, I don't trust that, especially where the lady was going overseas. She's like, internet, meh, at best. So no, we're not going to do that. So you to jam everything down the lawyer's throat to fix it up quickly, call in favors, exceptions, and it's money. So I'm like, literally, I would say I'm like a week to 2 weeks before and after, don't go anywhere. Be there. Yeah. Right? Be there. There's nothing worse than me ruining your vacation. You're on the beach and I'm going to call you and be like, can I get a new pay stub? I need this piece of paper that they found we didn't have. Or that, the lawyer, what are you doing? Three rum and pineapples deep. I'm going to sign my documents with my lawyer in the lobby of, right, Dreams Resort in Tulum, or whatever. Yeah. And I honestly think TV has done this to us, where we're we deal in lots of real estate as a country, right? And it's balling. If you're dealing in real estate, you're probably making money on some way, shape, or form.
Sure.
Or you're super happy, right? Yeah. So we just get caught up in that emotion, and it's we're leaving the beach. What are you doing? I gotta go sign my mortgage papers. It's just, it feels cool, but it's dude, I'm gonna ruin your vacation. I'm gonna ruin it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
It's funny. I've had an experience this week where, look, lawyers are doing everything they can to protect their clients. Want to put that? I want to say that up front.
That's their job.
That's absolutely. And we as agents are doing everything we can to bring the deal together, right? And to protect our clients while doing it, right? And so I had a chat with a bunch of lawyers this week on a bunch of things, and I was just getting yelled at and it's like sworn at by a lawyer. Like, don't you understand what I'm saying? Like, yeah, look, man, I get what you're saying, but here's the deal. This needs to happen. So figure out a way to make it happen. Well, I can't happen because of XYZ. I'm like, it sounds like you need to come up with a solution. And he did not like hearing that, right? So anyways, all that to say, I think a solution will be achieved today. But it was very much like, oh, okay, I get that you're frustrated with what I'm telling you, because my role is, yes, to protect our clients, but also to bring the deal together, right? And if I guess the problem with lawyers on a real estate transaction is they're looking at every single possible potential pitfall and loophole that there could ever be in the history of the world. And it's like, if that's all you're looking at, and you're saying, well, this could happen, 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 then it's like, you'll never be able to do anything, right? You'll just be paralyzed with there's too many risks.
Yeah. And I've said that to clients before, and I have to be very careful because I don't want to overstep. I'm big on not having other people overstep onto me.
Yeah. Right.
And say, like, when I see people again on Instagram, and you're a real estate agent and you're pumping something out that I just know is wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't do that. Like, you want it. I'm like, I told people last week, I'm like, if you have a question about this, I said, we should do something together because I know what's right.
Yes.
You think you know what's right. I know what's right.
Yeah.
Like, not to be cocky, but I'm like, I do. So we should partner up on that video or something, right? Quote me. Don't just guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, and when it comes to the lawyer stuff, I've told clients, I'm like, look, I know this sounds bad, and talk to your lawyer about it. But I'm like, we need 2 days here. Do we think that this seller is going to throw all of this to hell over 2 days? Like, beg for some forgiveness and let's fix it. I know the lawyer's going to tell you that everything's going to be terrible, and it could be.
Yeah.
It could be. But there's a human on the other side that really wants this done.
Yeah.
I think we got to lean into the humanity.
Yeah.
And do you really want to start over? Because you're not going to close in 2 days if you do start over.
Right. And that's the thing, right? It's like you get so deep into it with some of the stuff. Anyways, and I just want to, like, I started with a caveat is, hey, lawyers are great. They protect clients, super important. I say only good things about them. And their job and their role is different than my job or your job and your role. They're there to protect our clients. You're there to make sure that the money is going to go through. And I'm there to play middleman and appease everybody and make sure that everybody's able to play together nicely. That's it, right? You do the same thing between your client and the bank, right? And the lawyers do the same thing between the client and the other lawyer, right? Or
I think we're constantly moving. We're constantly moving into those situations.
Yeah.
Right. At some point, I'm the middleman between you and your client.
Yeah.
And at the next point, I'm the middleman between client and the bank.
Yeah.
Then I'm the middleman between the bank and the lawyer.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'm just in the middle of all three of them, and that's just mint. So yeah,
it takes everybody to be working in harmony to make something work. So that's my.
Yeah.
I think we're over time. If I missed, I apologize. But I definitely value lawyers and also realize that there's a challenge sometimes to overcome with lawyers, is my point. Anyways, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hot take, subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends. That's why I saved it until the very end, so that by the time that the last two people are watching, they won't, that's it. You can download the buyer or seller guides below. You can schedule an appointment with Kyle and I in the calendar links below. And hope you enjoyed today. And until next time, keep it real.
Collective.